Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome everyone to today's webinar where we will be detailing and reviewing the new member recognition program we'll be launching next year. My name is Scott Levine. I am the membership manager here at the IEEE Computer Society, and I'll be your host and moderator for the day. Before we get started, I'd like to take care of some housekeeping items. The webinar is being recorded, and the slides and recording will be emailed to you about 24 hours after the webinar concludes. You can ask your questions in the Q&A window you see on your screen. Today's presenters will answer as many questions as possible following today's presentation. And if you, so the Distinguished Contributor Recognition Program is designed to showcase the immense combined technical expertise and innovation power of the IEEE Computer Society members. The program intends to complete the current IEEE member ranks of the senior member and fellow. The program will recognize accomplishments that are beyond the threshold of IEEE senior member status, but do not necessarily meet the level of IEEE fellow. All Computer Society members, even affiliate members who only hold a Computer Society membership and not IEEE membership, will be eligible for this recognition. Today's presenters, Fred Douglis and Erik Marinissen, will review how one would qualify for this recognition and how and when to apply, what the recognition exactly entails, and everything in between. Before I hand the floor over to them, a quick introduction of today's speakers. Both Fred and Erik are members of the IEEE Computer Society Board of Governors. Fred Douglis is the Chief Research Scientist at Perspecta Labs, where he works on applied research in areas including high-performance computing and edge computing. He holds a PhD in computer science from UC Berkeley, has been member of the IEEE Computer Society Board of Governors since 2016, and a fellow of IEEE since 2017. He has volunteered with the Computer Society since 1993 and was named a member of the Golden Core in 2012. He served as editor-in-chief of the IEEE Internet Computing from 2007 to 2010, and has been on its editorial board since 1999. He has also served on the editorial boards of two additional CS publications and an ACM publication. He formed the IEEE Computer Society Technical Committee on the Internet, chairing it from 1997 to 2000, and received the inaugural TCI Distinguished Service Award in 2017. He previously chaired the Technical Committee on Operating Systems from 1996 to 1998. Erik Marinissen is the Scientific Director of IMAC in Belgium, responsible for research on test and design for tests covering 3D ICs, silicon photonics, to name a few of his areas of expertise. Previously, he worked for NXP Semiconductors and Philips Research. He holds a Master's of Science in Computing Science and a professional doctorate in Engineering and Software Technology. Both degrees are from the Eindhoven University, where he is currently a visiting researcher. He's the author or co-author of a 275 journal and conference papers, and inventor or co-inventor of 18 patents. In 2005, he received the IEEE Computer Society Golden Core recognition. As mentioned, he serves on the Board of Governors since 2019. He was elevated to a fellow in 2011. For contributions to modular testing for core-based system chips, he's a recipient of numerous awards, including 2 Test of Time awards. And with that, Erik, I hand the floor to you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. I assume that people can hear me. So let's continue. This is us, and here we have the outline of the webinar today. So I will start, and I will give an introduction, and I'll talk about the Computer Society existing awards and recognition program. And then I will introduce the new recognition program in terms of what the objectives were and what the specification is. And then Fred will take it away, and he will talk about in detail what are the requirements for people to be eligible for this program. An example, then it's okay. Requirements. So awards are important for associations of professionals like Computer Society, right? So yeah, the Computer Society also has quite some awards. There is an annual awards ceremony where a lot of people attend, and then these awards get given to everyone. So here you see some of these pictures. Actually, if you look at the technical awards that Computer Society has, then there is a whole list of them. Here they're mentioned. You can find them on the website. And yeah, so in different areas, different things that they award you for them. But what they all have in common is that actually these getting such an award is very prestigious, right? And that also means that it's quite rare. So if you look at in yellow, so how many people have over time gotten these awards, then these are always small numbers, right? It's like one award per year. There's 3 awards per year. So that is very limited. And if you compare it to the thousands and thousands of members that Computer Society has, then you can just find out that actually the chance that you as an individual member will get such an award is actually pretty small, right? That of course that depends on your achievements. So maybe if you have these very great achievements that get these awards, then maybe the chance is not that small. But on average, it's just very few members that get such a highly exclusive award. And that is also what these awards are supposed to be. They're supposed to be highly exclusive. So there is nothing wrong with that. But that means that you will not get any technical recognition from Computer Society in these awards, most likely. So there is one award. There is also some awards that I have not shown here for volunteering service. And actually, there's one program that was launched on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of Computer Society. That's called the Golden Core Recognition Program. So that is actually not an award, but a recognition program, and that recognizes volunteer service for Computer Society. And so you can be a candidate for that if either you're a recipient of an award or a certificate that are given for volunteer service, or if you I have to click here. If you have served as a president or board of governors member or executive committee member or editor-in-chief of a journal, or also staff members with 5 years of tenure, so then you're eligible, and then what you get actually is then your name is being listed in the Golden Core Master List, which you can find here on the internet. You get a plaque and you get a lapel pin, right? That's here. So I actually took a picture of my own lapel pin, and so here you can see. And then you're part of the Golden Core of Computer Society. So the very important volunteers that organize all the volunteering activities. This program was introduced, as I said, on the 50th anniversary of Computer Society in 1996. And so actually, then in the beginning, the first year when it was introduced, there were like 450 members that immediately got into this, got this recognition. And then every year there is some more added, and there's some good years and some not so good years, I guess. But so in total, we have already, Computer Society has already over 1,000 people on this list. So this is to show that there's quite some important volunteers in the Computer Society. Now, so the new award that I'm going to introduce you in this webinar is actually, has a similar setup, but it is for technical achievements, right? So not for doing volunteering work for the Computer Society, but for just technical achievements in your own job, let's say. Let's look at what it is. So actually, in the board of governors from the Computer Society, we had the discussions, and so we realized that Computer Society, of course, if you take all the members of Computer Society together, then we have an immense combined technical expertise and innovation power, right? There is lots of important things in the world of computers and software and also hardware, happen because of the members of the Computer Society. So that is one realization that we have. And so we said we should have a recognition program that has the following features. We want to give prestigious recognition, but yet broadly accessible to many of our members. So not like the technical awards that are just one per year, and then there's a very small fraction of people that get it. So prestigious recognition, but still broadly accessible. So if you look at the technical awards, then they are and they should remain highly exclusive. So that means that that is not doing it, right? This is not the broadly accessible recognition. If you look at IEEE, IEEE members, IEEE does also recognize the technical achievements of its members through membership grades, right? You have the IEEE, from a regular member, you can become a senior member, and you can be elevated to a fellow. And so those are also recognition of mainly technical achievements. But if you look at that, then many perceive the gap from senior member to fellow as too large to bridge for them. So many people are saying, I can get a senior member. That is often perceived as not too difficult. But then in order to become fellow, that is for many one bridge too far, right? And actually here you see some of the statistics, and then you can see that it is just like 1–2% of the members of IEEE or of Computer Society that make it into the fellow category, at some point in their life. So that is maybe also not a broad category. And moreover, Computer Society also has so-called affiliate members. So those are members that are only member of Computer Society and not member of IEEE. And then because these senior member and fellow are IEEE member grades, that they are not available for CS only members, right? For affiliate members. So we also wanted to design something that would be accessible and available to all CS members, including the affiliate members. So here we say that we wanted to have some award that should incentivize Computer Society members, including the affiliate members, to be active in Computer Society. So we also reward them for being active, but they're not active as a volunteer. Of course, that is also we also like that. But this recognition program is for being active on the technical side and also to continue their membership, right? To incentivize them to not give up as a member. And then it should allow the Computer Society to showcase the many technical achievements that we have, so that we, that at least on an award ceremony once per year, or actually on many different occasions, we're able to showcase what we're doing in science and technology in our field. So actually, if you look at the people that have contributed to shaping these ideas, in middle of 2019, the MGA, the Membership and Geographical Activities Board of Computer Society, installed what then is called an ad hoc committee to investigate how membership value could be improved. And so you see the members of this committee. I was chairing it, and we came back in October, I think it was, to actually we presented our results also to the Board of Governors. And so there were many ideas on how to improve the membership value. And one of these ideas was indeed to start such a recognition program for technical achievements. And so that and we said that maybe it should be similar to the Golden Core program that is for recognizing volunteer service, right? For organizational stuff. So this should be for the technical content. And so in early 2020, there was the Board of Governors then installed another ad hoc committee on membership recognition, as it was called. And so that was led by Fred, my co-presenter today. And so there were also lots of people that were in this committee. So here you see their faces and their names. And so the result is now that indeed we're going to have such a recognition program. And so you will hear more about it in this webinar. So the specification seen from the Board of Governors was that we wanted then what in the end was called then is going to be called the Distinguished Contributor Recognition Program. the idea is that it should recognize the many technical achievements of many of our computer society members. So we said that the level where it should focus on should be somewhere between senior member and IEEE fellow, because this was, to accommodate all these people that say, IEEE fellow is maybe too high for me, I will never reach IEEE fellow. So, then if that is not reachable, maybe this distinguished contributor should be reachable, right? So that is where we set the level. We also said it should be open to all CS members, so including the affiliate members. And then the eligibility, there is some requirements, and Fred will detail them later on membership duration. So you have to have a certain number of years of membership. There is, of course, requirements on technical achievements, and the majority of these technical achievements should have been obtained in the context of computer society. But so we do value we do value more an academic type of achievements. So journal publications, conference publications, presentations, but also industrial type of technical achievements, maybe in standardization or in patents that you might be an inventor on, and even inside a company. So maybe product development. If you have designed the new Xbox game console or something, then maybe that could also count, right? But what we say is, the majority of these technical achievements should have been in the context of computer society. So of course, computer society does not do product development, but maybe you have published about it, and then that also counts. So you can nominate yourself, or I guess somebody else can also nominate you. But the final evaluation is by a committee that is part of this MGA board, so the membership and geographical activities board. So they will put together a committee that will, in the end, give the approval or not, whether you really get the recognition, right? And then the program is about to start in 2021, and that is then exactly at the 75th anniversary of Computer Society. So 25 years later, and that is, we thought is a good moment to start this activity. So what will you get if you get recognized? Actually, we want to we want to borrow that from what you get with Golden Core. So it's similar to Golden Core. Here in Golden Core, you got your name in the Golden Core member master list. So we will also create the distinguished contributor master list, and then that means that the whole world can check that indeed you're a distinguished contributor, right? And we also intend to give out a plaque and a lapel pin. But so here I have just the pictures from those from Golden Core, because of course the one from distinguished contributor still need to be designed, so I don't have a picture of them yet. But it will be a similar type of recognition. And with having said that, I've reached the end of my part of the webinar, and this is the handover point to Fred.
All right, thank you very much, Erik.
Any questions at this moment?
Yeah, if you guys have questions, you can put them in the Q&A. Q&A so far, we're about missing audio, and then when we tried to debug the missing audio, we generated an echo, so all the rest of the questions were about the echo. Sorry about that. That's all solved now. But if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A, and also at the end we'll have an email list, and you can contact us via that email mailing list if you have feedback on this. Okay, so the requirements for recognition for this are, first of all, a membership requirement, 10 years of being a regular non-student Computer Society member, 5 years most recently contiguous. So that's so most people who have been members for 10 years will probably have been members for the last 10 years. But if somebody had let it lapse, the important thing is a total of 10 years and 5 years most recently at the time they applied. But then the question is, what are the achievements? So we decided to establish a rubric to specify a bunch of contributions that people could use toward this recognition, basically as a hint as to whether or not they might meet the minimum threshold. So the idea is, as Erik said, half the contributions from this have to be in the context of the society. So you may have done wonderful things all for ACM or all for your company or something like that, If you haven't done things in the Computer Society, then Computer Society Distinguished Recognition, Distinguished Contributor will not apply. Also, most contributions have a maximum total value that can apply for this. So so you need to have contributions from different categories, with one exception that I'll get to. The evaluation committee can look at other contributions that aren't specifically included in this if they're documented. So there will be a sort of catch-all where you can put in some text saying, I also did X, Y, and Z, and here's an uploaded document that describes it. The rubric will be the way that most people will demonstrate that they have accomplished enough things that they should be considered here. The one thing to consider is that since we consider this to be a stepping stone between senior member and fellow, if somebody is already a CS member who is an IEEE fellow, they will automatically be given this status. And anybody who might not be an IEEE fellow for some reason but received one of those named technical awards that Erik spoke about earlier, so not the service awards, but just the named technical awards, would automatically get this status. And that would again include affiliates who are not eligible for IEEE fellow. So the guideline for the rubric is that in order to apply, to make it sort of worth your while to invest the effort, you should look at this and figure out, do you have 100 points in this rubric to apply? 50 of these points have to be in the society, another 50 can be either in the society or potentially outside. So within the society, things like conferences, publications, standards, and so on. If they're co-sponsored, they count as being in the society. If they were previously sponsored, there are a few things that once upon a time were Computer Society events and then got taken over by some other organization, will grandfather that, you can count it. Most contributions, as I said before, are limited in how many of them you can count. So I'll get to that when I go over the individual items. The same item will count in the best category in which it qualifies in general. So if you have a paper and you have a paper, then that paper was very highly cited, it counts more because it's highly cited. It doesn't also count in the category of just another paper. For some things like test of time awards, I'll get to, it needs to be a big enough event to make that worthwhile. We don't want people having a 20-person event saying, hey, I just gave myself a test of time award again. So we're trying to avoid some sort of trivially small events. Citation counts are something we thought was important. If somebody has published something that's been cited very widely, that's an indication of technical achievement. Not every domain has the same level. So in some communities, getting something cited 500 times is absolutely phenomenal, and you're just never going to see better. We didn't want to make that a variable number, so the official rubric has some thresholds, but in the commentary, point out if there's something that you think is a special case. So the key contributions, the things we think are the most important that are actually really useful in suggesting that somebody is a distinguished contributor, even if they aren't yet a fellow, is test of time awards. So for those not familiar with those, these are increasingly common these days, I think. They're given by conferences after some period of time, usually 10 years. They demonstrate some sort of long-term impacts. There's an evaluation committee that go back and they say, of the papers that appeared here approximately or exactly 10 years ago, which one was the most impactful. And so we give the highest weight to that. We also, it's one category we don't limit. So they count as 20 points in this rubric. If somebody gets 5 test of time awards, that's pretty good. We really don't have to start counting all the other things. It's very rare that somebody has 5 test of time awards, however. The distinction between computer society events and non-computer society events would still hold. So if somebody gets a test of time award in ACM SIGCOM or something like that, that's very good, but that they still need to have enough under the computer society to meet the threshold. And the events have to be large enough to be impactful. So we set that threshold of 100 attendees, roughly. A best paper award is similar, but it's given at the time something is published. So it's important, but it's not quite as impactful. It doesn't count as much. If a best paper is then given a test of time award 10 years later, then it would count as a test of time award. So things tend to count just once. So let me go into the rubric. So we have a few tables here giving some examples of things that we have sort of decided on weights for. So the test of time award, as I said before, is 20 points each, a maximum of 100 because the 100 is the limit that we care about. But there's no limit on the number of these, and they can count in computer society or non-computer society, as is the case for everything on this particular slide. Best paper award counts as half of that 10 points, but a maximum of 5 of them counting toward that 100 points. So if all you have are best papers, you want to see some of the other things too, like highly cited papers are things that are cited 1,000 times or more. Again, we're looking for multiple categories to be checked here, with the exception of the test of time award. So papers cited 1,000 times, 2 at most. Well-cited papers are in the 500 to 1,000 range. They count as 10 points. A keynote talk is 20 points, has to have a minimum number of attendees, and 2 of them can be counted toward this. Service as a standards working group chair can be in the computer society or elsewhere. That counts once for 20 points. Author of a standard, 10 points, but it can count multiple times. So if you were a standards working group chair and you've authored 3 standards, that's already 50 points in whether it's CS or non-CS. Author of a journal or magazine article counts as more than conferences, because they're usually more work and take and harder to attain. 10 points each for a total of up to 5. Patents are non-computer science, not computer society rather, by definition, but they count similar to papers in that they count as 2 points each, up to 25, but each patent family counts once. So, and if it's something that's already in a paper, then it shouldn't be counted separately. This is for people who are patenting but not publishing. Author of a publication or presenting without a paper or being a panelist is 2 points for a total of up to 50 points for things that aren't in any of these other categories. Providing a widely used data set or online course or tutorial will count as 10 points. For that, we're still debating the metric for that. We could use suggestions if you wanted to email us your thoughts, or we're trying to figure out exactly what the threshold is to decide what should be widely used, and we did not have an answer to that at the time of this webinar. Finally, for corporate contributions are kind of special. So this is a subjective topic. We don't have a predefined thing that says if you do this, you get that credit. The idea is that industrial people who are non-researchers aren't publishing all these things, but need enough of the other points that this could make up the difference. So they still need to do enough in the computer society that they get those other 50 points. But if that could be from keynotes or serving on panels and other sorts of things, doesn't have to be from writing papers. But the idea here is that if you've done something else, as the example before was you built the next, had a major role in building the next Xbox or PlayStation or something like that, you should get some credit for that. But the rubric is sort of open-ended in that regard. So what we're saying with rubric is not you can't apply if you don't have these numbers of things filled out. And we're not saying you get to say this was worth 50 points or whatever. What we're saying is this is an indication it's probably worth your effort to apply. So actually I should get into this. So the idea is that we're limiting categories to number of contributions to encourage breadth, but there are other things that can be considered. The threshold is meant to be a minimum to try to gate the number of applications and keep the application and evaluation process. 2 things to consider there. One is it's not a guaranteed recognition. If you get 100 points, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will necessarily automatically get approved. If you get a lot of applications, then it may be that the quality of what those people do will be weighted, and the selection committee will decide on exactly how many. We're not going to, it's not an automatic thing where everybody meeting this threshold is automatically elevated to or given the status. So when you're filling out this application, if you will, and nominating and saying, I had this many papers, this many things, the form, when it's available, will limit the total number they can count, but you can still say, well, you had 10 best papers, even though, only a few of them are being counted toward those 100 points. The documentation of those other achievements will be provided by attaching your CV, resume, whatever it is. So like a list of papers and things like that. We'll probably ask for specific URLs or DOIs or other things for the more important aspects here. If somebody says they got a test of time award, tell us exactly where to find the information for that test of time award. But not necessarily for the individual 25 not so well cited papers. So here's an example award. So I'll call this person Mary. Mary's been a professor for 15 years. She's been a CS member, so she's met the duration threshold. She won a test of time award recently for something from that was best paper 2009. But it was extended and published in the Computer Society Journal and has been published cited quite highly there, 1,200 times. So we have the Computer Society points and non-Computer Society points. There are 20 Computer Society points for the Test of Time Award. We're not counting the best paper for that because it was the same paper, it was an even more best paper. We are also counting 20 Computer Society points for the highly cited paper because a journal article is typically a different publication from the conference. It's extended by 30% by definition for Computer Society articles. If somebody does publish an identical paper, which is sometimes the case I've seen for best papers in the conference, whatever, then it really should be counted as one or the other. So Mary has 4 other well-cited conference papers. Half of these are in Computer Society, half of them are in other societies, let's say ACM or Usenix or something. So 20 points for the Computer Society papers and gets the limit. She has 4 journal articles, and half of them are in Computer Society, so 20 Computer Society points for the articles and 20 non-Computer Society points. And when we move on, we see that with just these publications, regardless of everything else that Mary's done in her career, she gets 100 points as follows. So the Test of Time Award is 20, highly cited paper is 20, the other well-cited papers are 20, and then journal articles are 20 in the Computer Society, 20 outside of the Computer Society, for a total of 100, of which more than 50 are in the Computer Society. So she would be a good candidate for this. Whether she would end up being selected for this would depend in part on the full pool of people who are applying at the same time. So the application process. So there will be one application deadline per year, similar to the IEEE Fellow, unlike, for example, Senior Member, which is a rolling deadline. The process and the timeline are being finalized. We expect that we will have the web form ready in early next year with the deadline of the end of March. This is not final. We really have to have that, ready to go, but that's what you should be looking for. We expect, assuming that we keep that deadline, notifications would be at the end of May. And so we would then make the notifications, the announcements then. The recognized contributors would be announced at we normally have a Computer Society Awards Banquet in June, at our June Board of Governors meeting. It might be virtual this coming year, but in general, if it's face-to-face, we would not expect the people receiving this recognition to attend in person unless they're otherwise there, but they would be acknowledged by reading out the names of all of the winners. And the Computer Society-sponsored conferences would be encouraged to recognize distinguished contributors at their own award ceremonies, the same way that our IEEE Fellows tend to be recognized at the conference that people consider sort of their main conference for those who attend the conferences. So to conclude, we hope that this is going to bridge the gap between Senior Member and IEEE Fellow. It will allow us also to recognize affiliate members who are not eligible for IEEE Fellow. We're trying to come up with an appropriate process for evaluating applicants. We realize that we may not cover every possible contribution. So I see there's a lot of Q&A that's been appearing while I've been speaking. If you have the next few minutes we'll be here and you can add feedback there, but I'll leave this slide up. This has an email address. You can contact us by email and give us feedback as to what you think, you might, to the extent that we can address that as we finalize the rubric and make the webpage available, we can take that into account. So with this, I'll pause and we can start addressing questions. So I think that while people have been responding to things in the Q&A, maybe we can now take the floor and try to answer some of them globally. So, I see a question here, and I'm just going from top to bottom. Are published technical books considered in consideration? I would say yes. We do not have a specific weight for doing a technical book, but I think that given that we're including journal articles and such, books I think would fall into the same category. Let's see. So if 100 points is not necessarily enough, is the additional criteria X number of successful applicants per year? If so, what is X? So I think that we had talked about having a fraction I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I think it was on the order of 1%, possibly being selected in a given year, or maybe 0.5%, but with a slightly greater number in the first year. Erik, you can jump in if you remember more specifically, but there is similar to fellow, it would be a higher fraction than fellow, and the idea is to, and initially we will kick it off with a higher threshold, but then throttle it back similar to fellow or similar to golden core. But in terms of the actual, what the cutoff will be, I don't think it will be a strictly numerical thing either. If somebody has one of these scores, it's not like we're going to rank everybody, just automatically take everybody in the top X%. There will be a committee that will be evaluating them and will decide what to do. So let's see, I think, so other ones have been answered privately to those people. So I'll focus on the ones that don't have an answer yet, and then we can come back to that. So as a question doesn't address those of us who are working in application areas outside of those covered by CS conferences. I'm a senior member, but not participated in CS conferences or journals. This is largely true. I mean, if you are not involved in computer society activities, then wherever it is you are involved would be the right place to try to look for recognition for accomplishments. So this is intended for people who are active in computer society activities. If you work for WIE to try to increase the number of women in computing, that should surely count as a contribution to computer science, especially when you work in this for 20 years. I would say that that is more of a service than a technical contribution. So it is a wonderful thing to do to try to improve the number of women in computing. That doesn't fall into the category of the technical achievements that we're trying to address here. So let's see. What does the review panel for this expected to look like? Should nomination be geared to an expert in the nominee versus broadly in CS? On how many reviewers will review each nomination, even if it's approximate. So I think that this is intended to be much smaller scale than, for example, the IEEE senior member process, where they have big panels every couple of months and bring in maybe 20 people, and we used to bring them into a room and have 2 people read every evaluation, and then if they agreed on elevation, they were done, and otherwise would get a third. The notion here, I think, is that there will be a small committee, probably on the order of a dozen people or something. I don't think that's been finalized because it's to be decided by the head of the member geographic activities board for next year. But the notion is I would expect that a couple of people would read any particular application. But in the end, it has to be done by consensus. So the process for that is still being worked out a little bit. As for whether it should be addressed to experts or whatever, I would say you should not assume that the people who are reviewing it are expert in the particular area of here. It's not like fellows where you assign a fellow evaluator based on being in the same technical area if possible. I think the people evaluating this will just be assigned fairly randomly in terms of who evaluates what. Let's see. The comments are coming in faster than I can possibly read them all. What is the way to being an IEEE CS distinguished visitor? I think that is more in the service category than the technical category, so I would say it probably does not factor into this. Let's see. What about being an officer in the region's IEEE CS society? That is a contribution to society, but that would apply to something like Golden Core and not distinguished contributor, because these are for technical contributions. Contribution to SWBOC, the Software Engineering Book of Knowledge training material. I think that would actually fall into this because we are saying that people who contribute, for example, courses would apply. So that would fall under courses in some fashion, I think. Let's see. What else? If I'm a member for Computer Society for 5 years, can I apply or wait for 10 years? The answer is you have to wait because you need 10 years of membership, non-student membership, and 5 years of continuous membership at the time you apply. So you satisfy the 5 years, but not the 10 years. Let's see. Okay, somebody asked about students, would they get recognition of their contributions of promoting IEEE Computer Society? Students will not have accomplished enough to be distinguished contributors until they do as students will be something can be factored in when they apply much later, once they've accomplished enough and have been members long enough. How many years back can contributions be considered? All of them. Let's see. Okay, CS members who haven't written any papers or journal articles, but have done a lot of technical work in their companies, but have no chance of getting the distinguished contributor level, question mark. So what we have basically have said here, again, is that we want to acknowledge work that people have done for the companies, but unlike, for example, IEEE senior member, we also want to acknowledge things that people have done in the context of the computer society. So if somebody has not done standards, for example, I mean, they say you could never write a paper, but if you've worked on if you chaired a standards committee and co-authored 3 standards in the computer society, that would be 50 points out of the 100 that you need. So with that, you could then do a bunch of technical work in your company, and between them would be eligible in theory. Again, the actual selection will be dependent on the review committee. But somebody who has done a bunch of technical work but never done anything in the computer society, never done a standard, has never done a paper, never presented at a conference, appeared on a panel, anything like that, that's correct. They would not be active enough in the computer society for them to be recognized by this. Let's see. People have asked if we can get the slides. I think Scott can answer this, but I believe that I've heard that they will be available after the fact. Actually, yes, he said they will email tomorrow. So I'll share that with everybody else, because I've seen that question multiple times. So yes, somebody asked, does Conference Chair Act as count as service or technical contribution? That is actually something we went back and forth on quite a bit, because there are a number of roles like that. Editor-in-Chief or Associate Editor is a similar one. In the end, we decided that those are service, and that they would, since those are things that people can be recognized with the Golden Core for, those would not be things that would be counted for this. However, the people who are, let's say, technical program committee chair, usually are doing so based on technical contributions. And so usually by the time they're program committee chair, they have other technical contributions that would actually count toward this. And so such people probably will be eligible, just not on the basis of being a program chair, or certainly not being a general chair or other volunteer. Those are the things that would fall under the volunteering side of things. Okay, let's see. Are there any opportunities to participate in writing standards? Yeah, I think that IEEE and the Computer Society have a bunch of things in the standards area. We have a whole standards committee, standards board. I can't go into more of those details now, but I'm sure on the computer.org website you can find out about our standards activities. And if anybody else with more information on the presenter side wishes to respond, you can answer in the chat. Let's see, contributions to the ISO, IEC, or National Board of the same NSAI. In addition to working on a standard with the IEEE, would ISO count, would any of these other things count? So I think that those would all count as standards activities outside of the Computer Society, unless it's something the Computer Society is specifically involved with. And so that you count toward those other 50 points, but you should have other things going on with the Computer Society to make up the rest and to argue for Computer Society recognition. Somebody asked, is 10 years of IEEE membership needed or 10 years of CS membership? CS, you can be an affiliate member who's never been an IEEE member and be eligible for this. So it's just being a member of the Computer Society. I think if the question is, if you were an IEEE member and not a Computer Society member over that time, then it would not count toward those 10 years. You have to be a Computer Society member for that. So let's see. Do corporate technical awards in Computer Society field of interest count? I think that I don't know. I think that will be up to the evaluators. I guess that I would say that it would be recognition of one's accomplishments in their company. And so if you are made a distinguished engineer or a technical director or any of these other things, or given some sort of a thing from your company for some accomplishment, that would be supporting your technical accomplishments on the corporate side and can count toward the 50% that is not computer society things. So I think that would help to document your contributions. I don't think there would be a specific mapping of those, and it wouldn't be like the IEEE technical awards that automatically give somebody recognition because it would be outside of the society. I think I'm running out of questions here, although there's some others lower. Let me see.
I agree.
You want to take over some? Why don't you go? There you go.
I was just concurring with you about the corporate technical awards, right? That I think the corporate technical awards, they're kind of evidence that you did something good in your company, and probably the reason why you got the corporate technical award in your company could also be technical achievements that count for this one, right?
Right.
So let me read some. Someone has more than 10 years IEEE membership, but 5 years of IEEE CS membership. I think we're talking here about CS membership, right? So the requirement that this award has is 10 years CS membership. That's that might be with or without IEEE membership, but it's 10 years CS membership. So that is, and this question has been asked multiple times. So do we need to be first author of a paper to be counted? I think no, right? An author can be, you can also be middle or last author. That is good enough.
Yeah, we're not making a distinction between
also. So
where somebody falls in the author order. Yeah, so I think we have hit all the questions that have been entered online, unless we've missed anything. We'll stay on for a couple of minutes in case we missed you and have not responded either online or verbally. Please repost it now.
Yes, thank you, Fred and Erik, Jan. And as they're typing some last minute questions, thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. We're glad we could launch and introduce this new recognition program for you or to you. Fred and Erik, Jan, thank you for taking the time today to go through the recognition program and what it entails. Couple of quick announcements before we wrap up. And as the slide you see on the screen shows, you can always email your questions about this award to the email you see on your screen. Someone asked about standards earlier. We do have a couple webinars coming up next week. One is from our standards activities webinar series. This series we just launched last month is going through all the IEEE Computer Society standards. They're going to talk a little bit about what they are, what they do, how each standards get from like, I guess, development to an actual idea and a standard that's in use around the world. So the one coming up next week is on IEEE 802 Networking Standards Connecting the World, Part 1. For those not familiar, IEEE 802 is probably one of the most widely used standards in the world as it deals with Ethernet, LAN, and Wi-Fi. This is going to be a two-part series. The first one, as I said, is going to be on December 14th at 11, and the second part will be held on January 20th in next year. The other two webinars coming up both hail from our Build Your Career webinar series. The first one will be on the 17th at 11 a.m. This webinar is titled Solutions Thinking and will cover outside the box thinking and strategies. This will be presented by Elsa Velasco-Paul. And our final webinar of the week, and what will be our final webinar for the year, is the following day on Friday, December 18th, also at 11 a.m., titled The Fantastic Five, the 5 soft skills every technical professional should develop. We have a very special speaker, as this presenter will be next year's president of IEEE, Susan Kathy Land, will be joining us and sharing her top 5 list with us. You'll be able to find registration links to all of these webinars and any of our upcoming webinars in the email we send out tomorrow, which will include the recording and the slides. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you again to our speakers, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Take care.
Thank you.